Next is our question 3. Implement a class name account. Alright, let's start reading the requirements first. What our client needs, so that you will write out the attribute, the method that needed for your whole program, so that you won't mess it up. List down everything, and if you know UML, then you can write out. But this is question 4. Let's read the question 3 first. For your information, UML called Unified Modeling Language, if not mistaken. UML, yes, correct. It's a way for you to model the software so that you can represent it in another way, in an abstract way, to let other developer or even business people to understand the whole program. It comes with different diagram actually. Well, first, a private integer data field name ID default 1, private double data name balance, private double name annual, store the current interest rate, default 0, assume all the account have the same interest rate. Alright, private date name date created that store data when the account was created, means when you call the constructor. No argument constructor that create a default account. You need a constructor. Another constructor create an account with a specific ID and initial balance. So this constructor will need to accept two parameters: the accessor and mutator, or we call getter and setter, for ID, balance, annual interest rate. Accessor method for date created, because we are going to set the date and fix it once we create the account. We can't change the date created. So don't create or don't make any method to let the programmer change the data. The method, alright, return a monthly interest rate to get the monthly interest. Another method, withdraw, to withdraw a specific amount, so this will accept a parameter. And deposit, accept another parameter. Alright, there are some hints over here. The method get monthly interest to return monthly interest, not the interest rate. So over here we need to times the balance with monthly interest rate. Monthly interest rate is annual interest rate divided by 12. Note that annual interest rate is a percentage. You need to divide it by 100. Write a test program that create an account object with an ID of 1122, a balance of 20,000, and an annual interest rate of 4.5. Okay. Use the withdraw method to withdraw $2,500. Okay, I don't have this much money. I hope you have. Use the deposit method to deposit 3,000. Huh? Wait, yeah, okay, you have a balance of 20,000. So that's fine. So you won't owe the bank any money. So this is very dangerous because probably the interest rate will be very high, especially personal financing. Print the balance and monthly interest. Okay, just call the method and the date. Well, easy peasy. We should try this out. These are the code. We have a main method, public class. Alright, wait, this should be question 3. Well, okay, this is not tally. Should follow this. Question 3, main method. Alright, let's start specifying our whole class. So this is the place you apply your OOP language. First, let me split into 2 pages. Close this. Okay, close it. Alright. We have a private integer okay, private integer, private double, static double. After that, we have a date created, because for all classes you will need to, all count, they need to have the same interest rate. So make it that static, so it will be the same for the classes or the object. Every object will have the same interest rate, because if you specify a non-static attribute or variable, it will be different from each project. Assuming that a class is a blueprint, is a template for you to create an object. Whenever you create an object, it will follow this template. But if there exists a static attribute, it will make sure there's somewhere in the memory it store the variable only once, so that whenever you create an object, it will just follow the value inside that memory instead of create a new memory for each new object. So over here we have the same annual interest rate. After this, java.utility.date created. Yes, you're not wrong. You can specify it this way. Most of the time we import the package java.util.date. For example, import.java java.util.date. Okay, then you use the date directly. Yes, this is two-way. Well, it is encouraged to import the package over here, because another developer who maintain your code or want to work on your code will know which package you are importing, because sometimes you are just not going to import built-in library provided by Java, but you're going to import another classes from the package or even other project. So that's good for another developer to know what have you imported for this file. So write it this way. After that, we will need a date created. Okay, a constructor with no argument, but you will need a date to create a new date. Just call the constructor of date, then it will initialize a date according to your local machine, which means 8:25 a.m. After that, because following the date, there are some specification. Whether you want to follow the UTC plus 0 means over Greenwich there time zone, you need to specify it. Well, next we will need to have accessor get ID to return this .id. This is a keyword, reserved keyword for us to refer to the object itself. Next, get the balance. Over here you can use this .balance as well, because the method is not going to confuse the compiler which ID you're referring to. Alright, over here we have a static method because you're going to return a static. Let's try to remove this. Will there be any other error? Well, I think there's no error. Let's try it later on, because you're just returning one thing, but I assume there should be error. Let's take note of this. Well, public void set ID. We have a new ID here. Here is what this will become useful. So over here it will cause error because compiler confused which ID you're referring to. So you need to this dot id to have the compiler will know, okay, you're trying to assign the id passed to this method to the value of the object. After that, set balance. Another way for you is to have another name so that you won't need the this dot id. So balance equal to this, same thing, you are going to set the annual interest rate double, just get the interest rate, monthly interest rate divided by 1200, because over here the as the hint showed, the annual interest rate is going to be in percentage. You want it to be in decimal 0.045. So divide by 100, then divide by 12, because we have 12 months a year. After that, get monthly interest, times them together, call the method. After here, get date created, return the date. Remember, not sure if you remember it, so better I should revise you. So this is the accessibility of the method. Who can access it? Public means whoever import this file, even from another package, are able to access the method. If you make it private, means only this file can access it. After that, this is the return type. We call it return type because what will be returned by the method. Over here, it will return a date object. We can delete the front part. Then the name. After that is the bracket. Whether there is a parameter inside, argument inside, depends on the method specified. The whole thing over here is called signature, if not mistaken, the signature of the method. Then return the thing. Alright, void means return nothing. You withdraw something, so you need to delete it out. You deposit something, you plus it to the balance. Alright, let's start running the program. We would like to create an account object. So we create an account with account ID of 1122. Okay, 1122. We are going to use the second constructor. Where are you? Okay, over here. Second constructor. A balance of $20,000. Annual interest rate. Set it afterward in percentage 4.5. Withdraw the method, using the method withdraw $2,500, then deposit it. After that, just print the balance, the monthly interest, and the date. Balance is call the method account dot. Dot is a way for you to access the method. Remember to have a bracket. After that, monthly interest is account dot get. Every time you dot something, you should have a list of methods available for you to call. So just get your method over here. Alright, please wait, because I didn't specify any Java doc over here. Java doc means you write your method in a way that Java compiler will know what is the function of this method. For example, equals. As you can see, this is a built-in method. They specified, they let you know what will come out or what will be performed if you call this method. For example, equals, compare something, is reflexive, symmetry, yeah, whatever. If you, for example, let's see, you click the equals, let us get into the equals. you will see something like this. This transitive, symmetric, the same thing. Javadoc is a way for you to specify a documentation. So whenever you write a library or something, you should write this comment to let other people know what is the intention of your code. Okay, let us delete it. Cool. This account was created at. Let us run it. Oh. Okay. Let me run this. Okay. Balance is this. Monthly interest is this. Then the date. It is 8:33:00 SGT Singapore time. Okay, good. Correct. This is question 3. Let's proceed to question 4. Question 4. An account class. Design a new account 1 class. Add a new data field name. One thing to note, for example, for question 3, we let the ID default to 0. But in my opinion, this is not going to be right. But since this is specified though, so just make it default to 0. But actually, if logically, we should make it static. So every time you create an account, just plus. Just make an ID plus, or you store an array list of ID you have. So make sure you don't have any duplicated account, so that you can identify the account. Because if you follow the instruction, if you really use it in production, you call the account, then you create it, maybe your ID will have duplication. So yeah, make sure your code is not error prone, so you won't run into situation like you need to fix bugs in the midnight, can't sleep. It's nightmare. Yeah. Question 4. Add a new data field name. String type, store the name. New constructor, construct an account specific name. Alright, you want a new constructor? And a new data field name transaction, whose type is array list, a data structure that's provided by our Java library. Store the transaction for the account. Each transaction is an instance of transaction class. Well, we have another class over here. Transaction. This is a UML diagram provided. The negative means private and the plus means public. The date should be of type java.util.date. The type should be character. Amount. Wait a second. So what will we going to store for the type? The type of transaction, such as W for withdrawal, D for deposit. Alright. The amount double, the balance double, description string. Then we have a method. We split it by a line, denoting that at the bottom will be a method, public method transaction, which is a constructor accepting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 argument. First type, amount, balance, description with respective data type. Alright. Modify the withdraw and deposit at a transaction. Yes, we need to modify both of them. All other properties are the same. So before we run the program, let's write our code. Well. Okay. Question 4. Account 1 is our new class. Hello Chrome. Yes, please have the correct size. Yes, good. Follow the instruction. Account 1, I need an ID, add a name. Over here, I create a new class, new file. Then that created. Okay. The same thing. You should import it at the top of the file. After that, because this will save you time as well. You don't need to type java.util.date every time. After that transaction, whose type is array list. So just have the array list with the data type inside it. Over here, I believe you have learned generic this week. This is a way to apply generic so that the compiler will help you to check whether you are importing or push the correct data type into this array list, because compiler is going to help you to make sure you push the transaction into the array list instead of other objects. New Java list. Okay, here you can use just put it empty. Well, destructor, default destructor, constructor. Account 1 constructor. Follow instruction. We should have name ID balance, and the date created. Other than this will be get, set. Okay, this is get. Now modify our withdraw. We need to have a withdraw. Before that, we should look at our transaction class, because we're not going to have a clear idea without having our definition of transaction. Follow the UML diagram. D, character double string. Transaction, the constructor. Type type amount balance description. Get, because you're not going to set them. All of them will going to be initialized during the initialization of the object, because transaction is a history. You're going to store it just for data storing purpose or analysis. People are not allowed to change the transaction data. Next, withdraw method. You delete the balance while at the same time you add the new object transaction. Just call new, then the constructor with the correct parameter. In here, you withdraw means that you need to have W and the amount. The balance, just copied it, because over here you already delete the balance. Means that after you delete the amount, make sure you write the code in correct sequence instead of assumed. Over here you are going to put in a wrong balance because you haven't deleted the amount. Put the amount in. The last thing will be description. Anything you want to describe. Probably over here we should put a description here. But is there any specification? Because modified method to add a transaction to the transaction array list. So depends on you. If you want to have description, just put alright string, maybe description. Okay, then just put the description over here. see which fits you, because the question didn't specify whether we need a description or not, but I think this will be better because you allowed the main class to call the necessary method and add any description if needed. Over here we have an error because compiler helped you to check the error. This error with red line, we call it compile time error, which means before you compile, you know the error. You can debug it until there's no red line. Another error will be runtime error. So make sure you can differentiate them. Runtime error means that after you run the program, then there is an error like index out of bound, blah 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 something. Those are runtime error. If you didn't catch them, they will stop your program or crash your program. In the real world, you run into bug, then your client will be unhappy. Well, let us delete it, make it this way. Okay, same goes to deposit. Add a new transaction with the character D, amount, balance, and no description. Alright, I believe we have defined the whole class. Now let's proceed to the main class. What will we need to do? Write a test program, create an account 1 object, set annual interest rate. This is acceptable because before you initialize an object, you can set the annual interest rate because annual interest rate is a static variable. Static variable means that the variable belongs to the class instead of the object. You can just, if you want, you can just SOUT then account 1 dot get the annual interest rate because the variable belongs to the class. Over here we set the annual interest rate first, set it clear, then have the object with annual interest rate 1.5 second, 1.5%, but I think there's a bug here. Okay, 1.5, balance 1000, cool. 1122, George, deposit $30, 40, 50, withdraw 543. This guy is George, is going to withdraw every time once he have any lunch and so on. Print out name, summary, holder name, interest rate, balance, and all transaction. Just print it out. Print them out. Blah blah blah. Over here, we have something interesting is that we will need the transaction. What will you do? Account get transaction is going to return you something. You can, over here, you can press the control button, then point to the method. You know it's going to return an array list with the type transaction. So here, the same thing, you will need an array list with the same type to accept the return type, the list. You print out, this is just a formatting, printf mean formatting. You format the string, date, type, amount, balance, then you print them out. S means string, negative means you would like to have negative weight, means the date first, then the space, then you want to print them out one by one according to the size of the list using the for loop. transaction list.get. This is just a way to cast the object because actually generic is going to just be a reference in compile time. During the runtime, the compiler, the environment doesn't know what type it is. So over here you will get the object type, which is the ultimate ancestor of the all built-in library. Let me search something for you. Object Java SE8. Class object is the root of the class hierarchy. Every class has object as a superclass. All objects, including arrays, implement the method of this class. So all the classes, built-in classes will have the method clone, equals, finalize, get class, because they inherit the class object. Over here, because the runtime, the JVM doesn't know, Java virtual machine doesn't know what is returning. It may throw you an error. So you need to cast it to let the JVM know this is a transaction object. Then it will accept it. After that, you get the date, just call the method get time, get amount, get balance. Print them out. Let me try this. Okay, sorry. Run the file. Well, you have all your transaction with the respective balance. I think we succeed. Alright, this is the end of our lab. Welcome to drop any comment for the whole video in terms of quality or whatever, my tone, my voice, anything, so that I can improve it on our next lab. If you have any question, welcome to ask Dr. Haru, or you can email me helinchoi@gmail.com. Well, I guess this is the end of lab 1.